we're good.
And a hush comes over the crowd.
Yeah, we're good.
John McKinney, Assistant City Manager. We are here for the City of Port Orange, Florida and Coastal Florida Police Benevolent Association Lieutenants negotiations. It is Tuesday, June 18th, 2021. I do apologize for the lateness.
Hello, I'm Michelle Olk, HR Director, and also on this bargaining committee.
I'm Carly Meek, the Assistant City Attorney.
Manny Marino, Chief of Police.
Warren Carver, Port Orange Lieutenants.
Greg Forehand, PBA.
Tom Aiken, Port Orange Lieutenant.
Candace Gates stepped out for a second, but Port Orange HR. We'll go through these one at a time. Sorry, I don't have.
That's okay.
Um,
Mama taught me to share.
So we'll just go through these real quick. You know, these are articles. So after we last met, the city attorney met with Michelle and I both. There are a couple of items that he is wanting to clarify. So I want to point that out. He just returned from paternity leave. So he was not able to do a couple of clarifiers, and I will point those out. But again, I wanted that language to you because I do believe that we are, I believe, close between both sides that we can get something wrapped up in the next 2 months. So I want to start with Article 2. We added in under 2.3. And again, Warren, Greg, we can talk through all these, or if you would prefer to just, there it is, we can, after you've had time to dissect it, talk about it at the next meeting. What would you prefer?
Talk about it at the next meeting. My first question is, do you have that language in your rank and file bargaining unit?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Under Article 4, strikes and lockouts, under 4.3, this one's very simple, so I'll read that one. Adding to the end of it, provided, however, that the decision to so discipline shall be governed by Florida law and not be subject to grievance procedure of this agreement. So adding that.
So just so I'm clear, that says if someone participated in the strike or what the city deemed to be a strike, they would not have the ability to grieve that decision? Is that what I'm reading?
It would go through Florida law instead of grievance procedure.
Here's the, in addition, let's see. It's not the red language that worries me so much as the darker language we have in there already. In addition to the penalty set forth in 447-507, Florida statutes, any and all employees who violate any provision of the law prohibiting strikes, okay. Prohibiting strikes, you know, 100% it's criminal. We will never strike, and I will tell you that I'm not going to jail for any one of you guys that want to strike. The only question I have is, it says, or this article may be disciplined. Are you talking about violation of anything in Article 4? If so, I gotta go back through that. But again, here's my only heartache. When you say governed by Florida law, let's say somebody accuses one of these bargaining unit members of promoting a strike or striking, okay? And the officer says, I didn't do anything wrong, I didn't strike, I didn't do anything wrong. Are you guys saying that they wouldn't be able to grieve and use the grievance procedure to fight them being accused of striking when they say, hey, I didn't strike?
I mean, I'm open to suggestions if you want to suggest additional language, but my belief is that this is, if there is a strike and we can prove that they were doing that it would be governed by Florida law.
Well, I think that's where the heartache is.
Well, when you say governed by Florida law, you mean like criminal prosecution? Or, in other words, like I said, I want to be able to say, hey, look, my officer didn't strike, he didn't promote a strike, he didn't violate this article, okay? Therefore, he should be allowed to use the grievance procedure to contest whether or not he did violate it. I don't have any problem with if you guys saying language that says if they do violate that section and they're found to have violated it, they can't grieve the punishment that you give. So in other words, we could grieve and take to arbitration whether or not he did it or didn't do it, but if we admit that he did it or an arbitrator says he did it, we couldn't in any way contest the discipline you guys give him.
I'm open to considering whatever you want to propose.
Okay.
Thank you. Article 6, personnel records under 6.1, we just wanted to change it to normal business hours versus working hours. Could be that the city clerk's office or another office has a different set hours versus, so wanted to make sure it's clarified under that department's normal business hours.
That's fine.
Under Article 7, probationary employees, wanting to get away from the use of social security numbers across all bargaining units, so wanting to utilize the employee number, and the lowest employee number would always have the most seniority. Okay. Under Article 8, seniority, under 8.2C, just a grammar clarification as takes an unauthorized leave of absence, but the leave was in there twice, so wanting to just strike the second leave under C. And under 8.3, not quite sure that we really need that clarifier right there, so for y'all's consideration there. 8.5 is still being reviewed by the city attorney, but I wanted to make sure that you were aware of that, so that's why that's highlighted.
Hold up for a second.
Yeah, I think-
8.3.
Yes,
In
sir.
the event of a layoff or elimination of a rank/position within the department, the following factors as listed below shall be considered by the city. You're talking about, all right, if we're eliminating somebody, how we decide which person goes. Because, I mean, I read that going, you guys get to eliminate, positions without any problem. That's
Yep.
management right.
We looked at it that it's in order of A, B, C.
Yeah, the only issue I got with that is we currently have 3 lieutenants who all promoted the same day. So A and B are going to be important at that point for this particular bargaining group at this particular time.
Okay.
Going to B would be,
That's a good point. I don't think any of us consider that. So, okay. Well,
3 of them were on the same day?
Well, then, two of us.
we'll relook, sir.
correct, yeah, because one's now a captain, right. One's now a captain, but yes, we promoted 3 lieutenants on the same day,
Hannah and
yeah,
I were the same day.
yeah. I don't think that's a factor often, but it just so happened in this case it was.
Article 9, Bill of Rights. It's a written reprimand versus formal reprimand, so wanting to clarify that. Bulletin board, not really sure, everything that's in there, but one of the things that, wanting to put in there is that city email shall not be utilized for union communications. And then the other thing too is 10.1 through 10.3 in general, is that something that is still being utilized, or are more and more groups going to apps?
We're definitely still using the bulletin board, not so much on the lieutenant side, but definitely on the IUPA side, they're still using it.
Okay.
And then, just for clarification, the only communication I do by email to the members is dates of negotiations. Do I need to do that via text message now and no longer use the city email?
That would be the preference.
Okay.
Keep city business city and then union business separate. I mean, I know that you and I,
Right.
and Michelle, communicate,
That's
that's one.
covered,
That's
yeah.
covered, correct.
That's
That's
covered.
exempt.
Right. Yeah, like I said, the only thing we talk about on email
Well,
is the dates.
does the city, when we schedule a negotiating session, do you guys send an email out to everybody saying, here's the next negotiating session?
Calendar invite only.
Because it's a public meeting, is it a problem for you guys if we go with that language, but you guys say, hey, look, when we schedule a meeting, you'll send an email out advising when that public meeting is? I mean, that is public business, so
Absolutely.
is there any problem
But
with
we're
doing
not,
that?
we are not, by nature, we do not utilize email except between the three of us.
Okay.
And it's all marked as is. You know, if there's something that's between myself and the city manager, that is a hard copy for edits, but
No.
it is not an email.
We're good.
No, I just have to remember moving forward not to use email to tell them when we're having them, that's all.
Yeah. And it's also to be consistent amongst all groups. This isn't about, necessarily PBA. Leave of absence, Article 13.
I'm sorry, before you go forward, just to clarify, back on Article 7, we're talking about seniority. Did I hear right, that at some point we recycle badge numbers?
Not employee numbers, but badge numbers, yes. The numbers that are actually on the badge that are issued to guys, yes, they've been recycled.
Okay, so
But
it's
their
not gonna
employee
affect the employee
numbers,
numbers.
correct, it won't affect their
Right,
employee number.
And I did not state badge number, I said employee number.
You
Yeah, I
did.
just want to make sure, because I knew they had recycled some badges.
Yeah,
None of that's used for seniority purposes?
no,
Okay.
not the badge number.
Leave of absence, Article 13. We wanted to add the language that if you are on a leave of absence, just clarify that the employee shall be responsible for insurance premiums for single and dependent coverage during an unpaid leave of absence, except as required by law.
So I'm clear, if they go FMLA because of birth of a child or whatever, they're gonna be responsible for their insurance premium if they've run out of sick and vacation time?
That's correct.
I'm not really worried about that with the lieutenants, but you may have a hard time selling that to the IUPA guys.
Under Article 15, holidays,
I'm gonna hold up for one. I
Yes,
do have a
sir.
question on 13.2. Unpaid leave of absence. If somebody bought a week-long suspension, is that an unpaid leave of absence?
technically, yes. But, I mean, in the past, well,
Well,
I'm gonna ask a question of legal
Yeah.
on this, so we'll come back at the next meeting. Thank you. Article 15, holidays, 15.3 and 15.4. Those are both sections that are being looked at amongst all the agreements, so we haven't come back on that yet. I just want you to have this knowing that we are wanting to look at how holiday, pay is, earned if you work it. So we'll come back on that. Article 16, annual leave, 16.2, I do believe that that was in error. So when I printed that and went to accumulate all these a while ago, I do believe that that was in error. So just kind of strike that. Under Article 19, sick leave, we've gone round and round on the sick leave bank, and we went through this in last year's negotiation. At this time, I don't foresee us, the city, putting together a sick leave bank. So we keep saying, you know, in all the, you know, the years that we're gonna look at it. I don't think we're gonna look at it, Greg, sorry. So instead of it just sitting out there, you know, just strike it. Article 23, bereavement leave. We're pretty consistent across the board that we would like bereavement leave just to, shall follow civil service policies and procedures. You know, if it's, you know, so there's nothing granted here that's not in civil service. So just to be consistent where we have other policies, we would like to do that.
Here's my question though. It says shall follow city civil service policy and procedures. My question is, are we waiving our right to negotiate if you wanted to change that? In other words, if you decided next week to change your civil service policy to totally delete bereavement pay, is that going to act as a waiver where we can't say, whoa, we can negotiate over it?
Okay, good question. So if I change per our code of ordinances, I'm required to do quite a bit of legwork if it comes to making a change to civil service. One of those items is I have to post it for roughly 10 days. It gets put on the bulletin board, it's notified, and after I take the comment period, then it gets sent to city council for no less than 15 days for review. So I can tell you that the bereavement policy that we just put in place in civil service this past November, December is far better than this. It clarifies, you know, what family is, immediate family, everything. So I do believe that, and we followed, NAGE last year did a really good job of increasing bereavement leave qualifiers. So I followed suit because the process has been over the past years that if NAGE gets it, civil service gets it. And it was very generous leave. So to your question, if I go to make a change, Mr. Aiken here would have to be given the same right to, you know, review it and make comments to it as anyone else. Okay. Article 24, wages. This is basically the exact same verbal offer that we talked about previously, memorialized it. Again, making sure that I took care of the all, just like, excuse me, we did last year, also making sure someone that's on probation as a lieutenant, it's very clear too what their pay is. I've also put in there under 24.5, after ratification, current employees will be eligible to receive a one-time lump sum payment of $4,250. I previously explained how we came up with that calculation. Under Article 25 retirement plan, there's nothing been changed on this other than striking what we already talked about. I sent an email. We have two things. The pension plan changes that are mentioned here, when it was to go to council in May, the pension, outside pension council stated that the cost impact that was received August of 23 had to be updated. I sent that request on May 8th, and I am just waiting for the police pension actuary to give us the update of all the items that were part of that study so that we can get those enacted. I have already completed the agenda item. I'm just waiting for that study to come, put it behind, schedule it for a meeting, 2 meetings. The other item is, I do believe that either July 9th, no later than July 16th, we are having a shade meeting to discuss with council the other items that was brought up during last year's negotiating session. And I do anticipate coming back on a firm response offer on retirement plan for that cost impact that we are currently studying. And that is something the city took on under the direction of the city council during last year's sessions. Yes, sir.
I need to check, and I don't have it with me, and my phone is obviously being used to record. The lump sum thing, I need to check the definition of compensation in the pension plan to confirm that if we do it that way, it's going to be pension.
Understood.
So,
If that was, you had stated that at
Right.
our last meeting that
Right.
you were going to look into that. as
yeah,
well.
I need to make sure we may have to word that differently,
Understood.
so.
I know that at the last meeting, we kind of had the conversation, is it being considered like the ARPA money
Right.
or not? And I do believe that that was the way I took it, Michelle, is that it would be considered as pensionable wages.
Yeah, and that's what we discussed. I just need to make sure that the way it's written in here jives with what the pension definition of
Yeah, 'cause it is not a
compensation
bonus.
is. No, right.
Yep.
I actually think there's still something in there, though, that that mentions lump sums, so I need to go in there and read that to be sure.
Yeah.
Carla? That was the intent. I have no problem adding to 24.5. After ratification, current employees will be eligible to receive a one-time lump sum payment of $4,250, which will be considered pensionable.
That's great. I like that. And
Yep.
we'll put that in there for sure,
Yep.
but I'm still gonna have to check that.
Understood. So just so that we
Yeah,
are
yeah,
clear
so that we're clear
that was the intent.
The intent is for it to be pension.
Okay,
Understood.
thank you. Again, Article 25 is here because I do fully anticipate doing that, and as we spoke previously, that this is a package deal, so we will handle that. Article 35,
I just want to make sure with that pensionable that you just mentioned, that you still have to discuss that with council.
Yes.
Correct.
Everything
Just-
in here.
Just very
Right.
clear that that's not
Yep.
a done
Yep.
thing.
oh, absolutely. And yes, that's a good point, Carly, but we did cover all of that at our last
Right.
meeting,
Okay.
that everything will be going back. So Article 35, we're asking for a 2-year contract only because we find that it's imperative that both IUPA and PBA should be on the same cycle. And so doing the 2-year contract would get us back into the same cycle as IUPA.
One question on that. So it includes a provision to negotiate over the wages in the next year.
Yes, sir.
The second year, and it says, "and one other mutually agreed article." So if a year from now you go, "We want to negotiate Article 5," and we go, "No, we want Article 6," do we not negotiate any change then if we can't agree on which article?
I'm okay if we get this settled and The only thing we're talking next year is
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 wages.
wages. That's really what I would prefer.
Yeah, we need to talk, cause we
Yeah.
may or may not agree with that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just,
we'll,
yeah.
we'll take a look at that part too, that's a good point, yeah.
Yeah,
Let- Give us 5 minutes and then.
We'll walk out.
Okay, all right, get out of here.
Well, don't forget your recording.
Yep,
Sorry.
I'm
We
gonna
might,
pause that
they
right
might
now.
tune into your channel.
City council's watching this
Warren.
going, so that's what they'll
If
take.
you just want to Teams me when you're ready for us to come in?
I will.
Thank you, sir.
I left
my
my
spyglasses on.
That's fine.